Everyone, Susan here, coming live to you from Boulevard Park in Sacramento. I'm just going to play around with my camera here a little. It's a little lopsided, that's okay. We're going to wait a moment and see if everyone can hear me. And I'm going to span around just so you can see how beautiful it is today. We are going to be looking at, we're going to go on a little neighborhood stroll. We're going to go through Boulevard Park. We're going to talk about New Era Park, and we're going to end at Marshall School, which are all neighborhoods in Sacramento. So if you hear people or cars or something like that going by, that's just because I'm bringing you on a stroll with me. So that's what's happening here. So I wanted to start here. I am in Boulevard Park. I'm at 22nd Street, in fact. In 22nd Street, for the most part, I am not going to be showing you me. I'm going to turn the camera so that you can see all the pretty neighborhood around me. So let me get you turned around here. There we are. So I'm on 22nd Street, and if you live in Sacramento, you probably recognize 22nd Street and 21st Street because they have these beautiful islands in the middle of their streets. And so we are in the middle of Boulevard Park right now, and there is a reason why these islands exist, but we're gonna start walking. So I wanted you all to see what I was talking about when I kind of talked about these, but just take a look at some of these beautiful houses and this just this really lovely boulevard around me. I also wanted to point out this incredible house on the corner there. That's the Dalton residence. It was built in 1913, so it's one of the oldest houses in this neighborhood, and it's just so beautiful. If you get a chance, definitely walk by it because it's an example of a colonial revival architecture and kind of prairie style altogether. And it's got this beautiful wraparound porch on the front that, oh my goodness, just to see that is probably one of the only houses on the street. So we're walking down F Street right now, and I wanted to start here because number one, I wanted you to see that boulevard and how beautiful it was. But number two, I wanted to show you a building that's at the corner right down here that I'm going to show you in just a moment that I've walked past here. This is my neighborhood, so this is a somewhat self-serving program that I'm doing for you today because I am bringing you on a stroll through my neighborhood, which I love, on a beautiful fall day. So, you know, life is tough for me right now. I just have to bring everyone around and show them some of the favorite things that I have. But this building on the corner over here, not that blue one that we're looking at, it's on the other side. I'll try and walk faster so you can see it. I've always kind of looked at it and been like, oh, what is that? And I don't know, perhaps there are other people who would take one glance and know exactly what it was, but it took me a little bit of digging to figure it out. So let me cross the street safely and I will show you what I'm talking about. All right, there's a couple cars coming by, that's okay. Ooh, spooky, look at the spider webs there. So over here, I'm gonna is that building right there. It's got, you can kind of see it, there's a building behind it, sort of in an L shape at the back of the corner. And what that was, I'm going to show you a picture here. It was this. It was a super service station owned by Ed Smith. And it's basically a gas station right here, though, at the corner. And I've walked past this 100 times and had no idea what that was. So I'm just excited that I can tell you that. It was kind of built, I think, in like the late 1920s. And then was very popular, used a lot in the 1940s. Now I'm going to scan this way just one more quick time to show you the Rite Aid. I know, not exciting. But this corner here has always been a sort of bustling corner for grocery stores and for places where you can get, you know, sort of all of your needs. So now it's a Rite Aid, but before that there was at least 2 grocery stores that stood there. So, I don't know, kind of cool. As we're walking, I'm going to give a little bit of history of this beautiful neighborhood, and I'm going to kind of scan around so that you can see some of the different style houses that you have around here. So this is, like I said, called Boulevard Park, and it was built or started to be built in like 1905. before that, in 1860, which was a pretty big year for the country in general, but before that, what it was called Agriculture Park. It was bought by the the Agricultural Society of California, and it became a permanent spot for the California State Fair. So what they had back here, and you have to remember that in the late 1800s, Sacramento was mainly, the waterfront was kind of the central feature, and it was building out, but it hadn't gotten this far. So this was a lot of empty space back here. So in 1860, it's bought by the Agriculture Society. It becomes Agriculture Park, and it has one huge defining feature, and that is a horse racetrack, a half-mile long horse racetrack. And I'm going to show you a picture of that when I can find it. Again, it's just me filming you today, or walking around with you, so if I'm a little bumpy, I apologize, but I do want to show you some of these things. So here you can see, this is a picture I took today actually of one of the bird's eye view maps that we actually have on display in the museum. So you can see the American River kind of in the background there, but you can see, I'm gonna go closer. There it is, the racetrack. So that's what I'm talking about when I say the racetrack. Like I said, it was a half-mile long racetrack, huge feature. They would have the state fair there. Again, like I said, it was meant to be a permanent spot for the California State Fair, which most of it took place kind of in the middle actually of that racetrack. And it grew because the state fair grew. And so it actually reached up north to B Street. I'm on F Street right now, all the way down to H Street, H as in Hat Street. And the racetrack itself, I believe, was between 20th and 22nd. 20th and 22nd Street. All right, we're gonna safely cross the street again. I have an ambitious walk for us today. I can't help myself. But I also just think it is so beautiful. If you live in Sacramento and you wanna go for a beautiful stroll, like, you should definitely come this way. We're gonna turn because I wanna bring you down G Street. And if you like architecture, I mean, you're gonna love this area down here. These are some of the oldest. If you love trees, come on down. There is such a variety of trees around here. If you love just looking at the pretty colors of fall, I mean, really, just come on down. So it's really cool. Now, I have another picture here of what that racetrack looked like a little bit later on. And you can see just how much Sacramento grew in kind of a short amount of time. And I'm going to go closer, and there it is, Agriculture Park and the racetrack. But you can see behind it hasn't really gotten developed too much at this point because it's mainly owned by the Agriculture Society. But you can see too, you've got the train coming through, you got the river. So that's kind of what changed. So then after, so that was in the 1860s that it really grew. In 1905, what happened was it was sold again to kind of a realty group. And it's mainly because everything grew. Sacramento grew and was starting to need that space that was being used for this. The state fair grew, so they needed to find a new permanent house that could accommodate all of their new size too. So again, oh, look at some of these beautiful houses. We've got these like date palm trees here too. Oh my goodness. Oh, a parrot. There's a parrot up there. Oh my gosh. How cool is that? So can you tell I just love walking in my neighborhood? It's so beautiful. So then it becomes called Boulevard Park. Now Boulevard Park though, at the time, I can show you, here was a plan that was created for Boulevard Park, a map, if you will, of Boulevard Park. And you can see how well laid out it is, right? And this is pretty much what we have today. There's some things that did not come to fruition, but it is a grid system. The lots were split up. A lot of these homes were built over time. I mean, over the last 100 years, a lot of the houses have changed from single family houses to multiple family houses, which is pretty normal for anywhere. But what they were kind of inspired by at the time was something called the City Beautiful movement, which was started in 1893 1893 at the Chicago World's Fair, which was just to make, like, you know, those beautiful boulevards and to really get these what would normally be urban neighborhoods to make them look kind of suburban. And it's funny because I've always said that, oh wow, look at this beautiful house. I've always said that I felt like my neighborhood was like a suburb in the middle of a city. And so I love the feel of it, but I can still like walk to downtown. So that's just one of the things I felt has been very special about this. Here's a busy intersection. I'm gonna walk safely across. Here's another just gorgeous house. Oh my gosh, really beautiful. So they wanted modern park-like cities that had, you know, neighborhoods and everything in it. And so within the very first year, 1905 to 1906, 1907, there are a lot of incentives to build and like to build these houses for some of the residents. And they built them in the colonial revival style, the neoclassical style, the craftsman style, just really incredible styles. And then eventually some of the buildings became more apartment buildings, and that, you know, it takes almost 100 years for all of these changes to come. So you really see just kind of this great glimpse into all sorts of things. So for the most part, this neighborhood, City Beautiful, was a success. There were a couple of disruptions, especially when the Western Pacific Railroad opened a new transcontinental line that ran between 19th and 20th Street. And if you live in Sacramento, you know that about the train I'm talking about between 19th and 20th Street. I myself have gotten stuck behind it many a time trying to get home. And so that kind of cut off the neighborhood from the more industrial. I'm gonna linger here and look at this beautiful house for a second. Oh, just lovely. And so that became a little bit more industrial. Businesses like the Blue Diamond Almond Factory, for example, is over there now. But then on this side of that area is much more neighborhood still. I'm going to show you, this house was being rebuilt. There was actually a terrible fire here in September 2019. I remember because I was here going, what is all that smoke? So that's what's kind of going on there. It spread, actually, you can see it behind, it spread to the house behind it too. It was a very scary day. Here's another just gorgeous house. So that's kind of the story of Boulevard Park and why they have those huge like islands in the middle of the streets at 21st and 22nd Street. And then so that was in 1905. And then in 1907, I'm just gonna show a couple more. This is a very different looking house. In 1907, there was the New Era Park. And New Era Park, I'll show you at the end here, kind of all the lines of it. Just kidding, I thought you'd be able to see that. Nope. So New Era Park really tried to kind of recreate what Boulevard Park was doing, but they didn't do it quite as successfully. Look how cute that is. And so they sold their homes. I'm going to show you an ad here. We're going to look this way. This is kind of my destination. I walked here faster than I expected, but I'm a fast walker. So here is the plan for New Era Park. This is from the Sacramento Daily Union in 1906, but the end of it, they started selling it in 1907. And you'll see it's being sold by the Carmichael Company. If you're familiar with neighborhoods again in Sacramento, you probably know about Carmichael, or maybe you live there. And yes, it is. Carmichael is named after Dan Carmichael, who was the owner of the Carmichael Company. So it's a little Sacramento connection. Now, if you want to like get orientated here, this up here is Stanford Park. Beyond this is the river. And then down here, where that arrow is pointing, actually, you can just see 5 blocks to Sutter's Fort. I think it's more than 5 blocks, but maybe it was at the time. And then 1 block to Marshall Schoolhouse is what that one says there. Ta-da! There's Marshall Schoolhouse. So New Era Park was sold then, and you can see too, look at this. $10 down, $5 a month, you know. Just your average housing market here in Sacramento. But here's another one, which I just thought this one was funny. So it's New Era Park. If you need fertilizer, buy New Era Park dirt. It's above the street grade, so they have to lower the streets and all that land is super good fertilizer, so watch the lot. I don't know, I thought it was just kind of a funny thing that was printed in the newspaper at the time. So what I have here though in front of me is the Marshall School. Now this school is really incredible. It's historic, and it's been here for a very long time. It was actually built in 1903. So where Boulevard Park started in 1905, New Era in 1907, this predates them all. And it's huge. I was gonna walk on that side of the street, but I think you can get a better view of it, or a better idea of what it looks like if I walk down this side of the street. It is empty right now too. It has been empty since 2009, and let's talk a little bit about that. So it was designed by a gentleman named Rudolph Harold. He also designed Sacramento City Hall, fun little fact. And it was an elementary school until 1976. So for a very long time, this pretty big school actually takes up about half a block here, or maybe even a little bit more. Look over there, those are like administrative buildings on that side. So it was an elementary school until 1976, when they deemed it unsafe because it wasn't up to the standards for like earthquake safety. So they had to retrofit it at that time, and it reopened in 1983. But it never stuck to just one thing after that. It was a preschool for a little bit of time. It was an adult school where they taught English as a second language. It was an employment center. It was a high school, the Met High School at one point, but nothing ever really stuck, and it was permanent, and then it became vacant in 2009 and became permanently vacant since then. But the really great thing too about these neighborhoods that we have is that all these neighborhoods have really active and incredible neighborhood associations. Boulevard Park, they have a flyer that I get every month that kind of tells histories of certain buildings and just like neighborhood news, and I love it. And there's also a neighborhood association for Marshall School and for New Era Park. And it's trying to save buildings like this because it's been vacant. And when buildings are vacant for that long, you know, their future really becomes uncertain because they don't stay nice forever. They need updates, and they need somebody to, you know, advocate for them. And this one in particular, I know it's got broken into a few times, and yeah, it just needs, you know, someone to advocate for it. So we don't know quite yet what the future is for Marshall School, but it's one of the oldest buildings. I mean, maybe the oldest one that we're going to talk about today, because it predates Boulevard Park in 1903. So the last thing I kind of want to show you was a map. And it's a map to show you where I'm talking about this. I found this map on the internet. Thank you, internet. All right, and I'm going to show it to you here. So you can see New Era Park is this long, skinny rectangle one. The red is its current lines, right? So it's this long, skinny rectangle one at the top. Underneath it is Boulevard Park. You can see it's kind of also a rectangle, but not as long and skinny. And then next to it is Marshall School. So it kind of makes one long space there. Now the blue lines on here are the more historical spaces or districts. The Boulevard Park, which is this blue one right there, that looks kind of wonky because I think they literally went through and said, oh, that's a pretty house. Wow, look at that house. That one's amazing. And they sort of made the lines around that. and which makes sense why Marshall School would be, I think, circled. Actually, that's a park over there. But yeah, so that's what we're standing in right now, are these three beautiful neighborhoods. So I'm going to start walking this way again. But I want to thank you all. This month, we're celebrating these neighborhoods. We're talking about the different neighborhoods of Sacramento. We wanted to start here, or I wanted to start here because it's my neighborhood, like I said. And I wanted to kind of take you guys for a walk. And like I said, it's just so beautiful. So if you get a chance, come on down, take a walk around here, enjoy the fall weather, and you know, enjoy some of the history. A lot of these houses, I forgot to mention, have like oval plaques on them, and that tells like the year that they were made and some of their history too. So I'm going to turn this way, just quick show you this house. This house was damaged in that same fire that I mentioned. It was a really bad fire, but I think that they are working on getting it fixed, which is always a good thing. So thank you everyone for joining me today. I'll get you turned around so I can say goodbye. There we go. I'm gonna keep walking through my neighborhood and enjoy the beautiful day, but I hope you enjoyed it, and you can join us next week for another neighborhood walk. Thank you.